like Preeti mentioned, we are talking about the connection between people, connections which strengthens relationship. I had a few questions probably where people have misinterpreted that probably I'm an IT professional talking about Wi-Fi connection and Ethernet. So let me clarify, I'm a mental health professional primarily talking about connections, the neurological connections, the physiological connections, and how we connect with each other based on our neurology and physiology, and how in this pandemic these connections have to become stronger, because that's the only way forward. And we should be thankful at the same time to technology that we are able to connect like this. But this virtual connection is meaningful only because of the people, right? Only because we are all here together and we are connecting. There is a connection between people. Otherwise, this wouldn't make much sense. So that being the underlying theme, I would also like to thank Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan group of schools, especially IES, for this opportunity. The fact that the school has invited me to address this specific thing about how online education has taken over, and how we are all uncertain of how things are going to move forward. And the school recognizes that this is important. It shows that how much the school is concerned about all the children and the parents. So, and the fact that we have so many parents who have logged in speaks what a wonderful partnership the school already has. So, hats off to the entire team. And we'll go with the theme old is gold. So I'll be using this acronym, which is OLDISGOLD, and each letter will expand to a little more in depth into the whole topic. Okay, so the connection is about neurology, physiology, and relationship. So let us see how what is the O. Okay, I hope this is also visible to everybody. I am still learning this actual virtual
Yes,
connections is
ma'am.
very new to
Yes.
me. I am very old
Yes,
school
it's
here.
yes,
Okay,
we
great.
can hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So as you see in this, the O, we know that we have all moved online. And in fact, we are talking about connection also in an online platform, right? So online is here to stay. There is no question that we are going to go back from the internet era, or there is no stepping back. That is definitely given. But once the pandemic took over and we had this lockdown and we ended up only with online and the offline was completely cut, specifically for children, when we had to sit within our walls. So, as you can read the quote here, children cannot bounce off the walls if we take away the walls, so which means that when there are too many restrictions is when we feel like we want to break free. When there were not much restrictions, we didn't have this many problems, we didn't feel so frustrated. So as adults too, we are all frustrated, we are wondering when is this going to end. We have no clue, there is a lot of uncertainty. So, what can we do now offline to combat this? So, the first O is talking about what all can we do offline. Online, of course, we will come to it when we talk about the O in the gold, but this O is specifically about what all can be done offline, and a lot can be done. My understanding is that the strict lockdown is over and you are allowed to step out of your homes. The parks are open, you can step out of your building. So keeping the COVID protocol in mind, keeping the physical safety, we have to now start stepping out by taking safety precautions for the basic mental health of our children. Especially the younger they are, the better, and the older, we have to move out at least outside your building. If you're staying in a flat, step down, make it part of the daily routine, because the more we see the closed structure, architecture plays a huge role on our mental health. So the more we see closed spaces, the more difficult it is for our brain to adjust and perceive and learn, and we won't be able to concentrate much if we feel very constricted. So to give that brain that feeling of openness, I think it's very important that we start stepping out, of course by following all the COVID protocol which your country has laid down. So it could be outside your building, it could be to a neighboring park, it can be meeting people, provided it's not a huge gathering. So if you know any of your children's friends who are probably living next door or not too far away, maybe even if it is three friends, that is good enough. At least that is maintained, and follow the mask and follow everything else. But it is important that we explore opportunities to connect deliberately, consciously online. That is one thing. So outdoor is important, and see how best we can utilize that, considering wherever you're staying. Okay. The next O will be the open conversations. Just like how we are so uncertain about, oh my God, how is this going to end? Some of us are uncertain about our jobs. Some of us are very worried about our parents back here in India. So there might be a lot of anxieties which are there in the adult mind, and I'm sure the children are privy to the conversation. They are listening to us speaking over the telephone, they are listening to us speaking to each other, cribbing about the lockdown or a lot of negativity. They probably must be listening. So it is very important to now open conversations to know what are the feelings that your children have, regardless of whether your child is in kindergarten or whether your child is in grade 12. Have a conversation with them, discuss your worries too. What do you think? How are we going to cope? To see what their anxieties are. If they're getting irritable, find out what happened. Is everything okay? Listen more, open up the conversation, don't try to hush it up. Whatever they are asking, listen, and do not shut down any conversations that come up. Do not leave that entirely to the school. It will be the responsibility of the parents to open up difficult conversations and talk about it. Okay. Wherever you need support, of course the school is there. The other thing what is very important, the O, is the creating opportunities to do things. The trouble of only going online is there is no much of a doing which is happening in online. Everything is just with the fingers, isn't it? For children, especially those below 18, it's very important that they use the whole body to do things. What all can they do? One thing which you can explore indoors is your kitchen. A lot of your subjects, almost if you take any subject, you can find how it can be applied to your kitchen. So even if you have a house help, even if you have other people to do the work, please get along your children. If not every day, make a day where you're all spending time there. There is a lot that can be done in the kitchen, where a lot of sensory exploration can be done. Mixing, using the fire, that is a lot of concentration. Cutting, that also needs concentration. So all the skills that are needed for academics, where we say attention, concentration, fine motor skills for writing, or organizing material before needing. So all that is taken care of when you're making a recipe. All your academic skills are taken care of in the kitchen. So since now everybody use the word, oh, we are stuck indoors, what do we do? Kitchen is one of the wonderful places where you can start exploring. The other will be to do things together. I'm not saying telling your child to go take it over, make it a together activity. You can also start opportunity to do things as their own room, decorating their room. It's okay if it is a little messy, let go of certain things, maybe rearranging their wardrobe or whatever, changing. Maybe today we will rearrange the furniture. So just for us to feel that we are not seeing the same visuals every day. Especially with the lockdown, what happens is we end up seeing each other every day, and sometimes it's very frustrating, isn't it? So sometimes what we did in my home is, I have two children as well, we just changed the arrangement in the living room, then we changed the arrangement in the bedroom. So every day there is something, not every day, at least once in a while, there is something that we are seeing new. Sometimes we'll say, okay, today let us put a mat and have our meal in the living room, or today we will sit in the bedroom and make it a picnic and we will have here. So try to create opportunities regardless of what age your child is. Change everybody loves, and I think it has to be an initiative that comes from the parent. But if the parent is going to say, oh my God, I am tired from work, I don't have time for all this, then I'm sure what will your children do? At the moment, nobody else can facilitate. Nobody else can facilitate it, because all the children are in their safest places with the safest people, which is the parents, and in their homes. So that will the onus. We have to own up that as parents. We have to own the responsibility of parenting. So that is the first O on what all we can do offline. Okay, now the L will be, I had a lot of questions which said, what do we do when the children are not listening to us? Okay, before that, I want a confirmation that has the slide changed for everybody, or is it just
Yes,
me?
ma'am. Yes,
It's
ma'am.
listed, right? Okay, great. Why am I asking is, for me, having done entire schooling and college before the internet era, this is like staring at a screen, and I know there are 100 people watching, but I can't see anybody. Pin drop silence. I feel like, what am I doing? I'm like talking to a screen. It is very difficult, but we are all learning and adjusting. I'm just assuming that all of you are listening, isn't it? But this is how listening happens online. We don't even know if somebody else is listening. This is the plight which teachers are going through across the world, because they don't know when they are talking if the children are really listening or not, because children are muted. And obviously you cannot unmute everybody and create a real classroom environment, because it will start echoing and the technology will not allow you to do that. So what we do is, we listen to our children by listening to them. And how do we listen to our children, regardless of whether your child is in kindergarten, in junior school, middle school, or in grade 12? When they are when they are coming up irritated, or when they, even if they are telling you something which is very silly, or even if they are telling you something which you don't agree to at all, before you start countering, listen with an intent to just allow your children to talk. It is, you have to accept the fact that even if children are connecting with their friends online, it will never be the same as connecting with real people face to face. Okay, so parents, when children come to you, or even if they don't come, go there, just sit beside. Even if you're not talking, listen to their silences. One of the big difference between offline and online listening is, in an online listening, silence becomes very awkward. Suppose suddenly I stop talking, and I just say that, oh, this lockdown phase, what do we do? And I just stop talking. It becomes very awkward, isn't it? There is complete silence and nobody knows what to do. But in a real life situation, in an offline connection, listening can happen even in silence. You can just sit beside your child. The little ones, you can even put them on your lap. The older ones, just go sit beside them. Maybe a little touch. A lot of communication can happen in silence, where it is not necessary that we want children to listen only to what we say. If you want them to listen to what we say, we have to stop talking. You should first start with the silences. And when you are silent, they will start talking. Do not counter them. Let them bring. Only when they start talking will you understand. Will you? The O is, only then will conversation start opening up. Then what will happen? L for learn. You will learn more about your children. Then you will know the little things that are worrying them, and sometimes you can laugh about it. Sometimes you can talk about your anxieties and say, like before this presentation, I have two sons, as I said, one is 14 years and one is 10 years. So before this presentation, I told Samir, Amma is getting a little scared. There are so many people coming. It is Bhavan's also my alma mater. So what to do? So I ran this whole presentation with him. And he said, there was one picture which he said, Amma, that is a very funny picture, change it. So we laughed about it and we changed it. So somewhere we should also, as parents, be able to laugh about whatever is difficult for us. So the children will also learn to do the same to us. And love. Should, of course, unconditional. We are all doing all of this for our children, isn't it? So love can also be spelt in a different way, and it is Time. Time. It will be the time that you exclusively find without your gadgets, without your televisions, without iPads, nothing, exclusively just to sit with your children, give the eye contact, sit down with them, and just be there. It doesn't matter if you're not talking, it doesn't matter if your child is just lying down in the bed, just go there, lie down beside. That is how most now love has to be spelled. Just being there for your children. It should not be a bundle of instructions. Most often, what happens is children don't listen to you because the only time you are talking to your children is a bundle of instructions. Do that, do this, or don't do that, don't do this, don't do this. So if your conversation is always a list of do's or a list of don'ts, your children won't feel like listening to you. You will be very, very boring. So start off with watch out. If that is already happening, watch out. Are you only a bundle of instructions, or are you full of negativity saying, oh my God, you didn't do that, you're always like this? If there is a lot of frustration in your tone of voice, then nobody will feel like listening. And when they start talking, if we don't listen and if we hush them up just because they used an inappropriate word or they didn't use the right tone of language, please accept that they are children dealing with a pandemic lockdown situation which is unprecedented to any child ever. Before their neurological makeup was ready, they have been put through this. So please give them that benefit of doubt to misbehave and be there to listen. Let them calm down and listen. That is how most often love has to be spelled. And letting go during this specifically pandemic lockdown, let go of a lot of things which you're very particular about, because I became so disorganized after the lockdown. Initially it was a lot of things like cooking and everything. After 1 month we had enough because I couldn't maintain that pace, so we had to let go. Some days maybe we clean later. So sometimes when children come up with little fights, especially those of you who have two or more children, there will be unnecessary fights. Who else will they fight with? So do not try to jump into everything and solve certain fights. As long as they're not getting hurt, as long as there is nothing drastically unsafe and drastically unhealthy, just act as if you have not seen it. Just let go, let them sort it out among themselves. So a little thing, do not bring too many rules. Already the country and the world has lots of rules on you, so let go of some of your rules, whichever is okay with you. So that is the that is how you get your children to listen, by listening to them. Okay, so now we go to the D is, this was a question which was repeatedly in most of the questions. It came up. It came up in KG. It came up in junior school. It came up across the sections. How do we teach our children to be self-disciplined? D for discipline. Of course, who doesn't want a child to be disciplined, isn't it? It would have been so nice if all our children just did whatever we told them to do, isn't it? But that doesn't happen because that parenting is not that easy, and children are children for a reason. Okay, and even we are not always that disciplined, isn't it? So children probably do not always do as you say, but they most often do as you do. Okay, so the D is also for watch out what you are doing and watch out for your own discipline also before we try to discipline the child. Now, to understand how to reach a disciplined child, which is important, I have to go into a little bit of theory about how your neurological makeup is, because it's important to understand mental health with little more depth than what we understood before. Because now reaching out to a counselor or a therapist or even to school teachers who were all mental health buffers that your children have, even your peer group, none of them are there. All of them are now behind a screen. So the entire responsibility is on the parent, and we don't have a choice but to take it. We have to take it on. We have to do that because we don't know how long this is going to go. So it's important that we understand a little more about our neurology. When a child, so I'll speak about this in the context of how do we disagree with the child. Of course we will have to disagree with them, whether it's a preschooler or a 12th grader. We will have to say a lot of no, don't do that, will have to come. We cannot agree to everything they are saying, isn't it? But how we disagree to them will decide whether we are instilling more discipline to the child, or are we losing the connection with the child. So how do we disagree? Disagreement, always remember, when there is a disagreement, immediately the child or us, even as adults, our brain perceives it as a threat. Threat in the sense, oh my God, somebody is coming to attack me. My thing is questioned. I have to be on the guard. So that is when our brain stem, or what you see at the lowermost level, our brain stem is what is activated the minute we listen to a difference of opinion, the minute somebody disagrees with us, or the minute somebody criticizes us, or the minute we fail at doing something. Immediately our ego comes up saying, oh my God, I am a threat. The brain will activate, and the brain stem will activate with the defense. We try to defend the idea, and that is exactly what our children will also do. Our children's first reaction will be, you're always like this, you're always picking on me. First thing will be defend. Now you need to understand that a child's brain is not fully developed. The prefrontal cortex, which is the uppermost area for reasoning, is fully developed only at what age? I can't ask questions now, so I will only answer at what age is only when children are either 25 or 28 years of age. Only at that age is the prefrontal cortex, which is a thinking area of your brain, is fully developed. Only then. All of our brains, when we are born, our brain stem is fully developed, limbic system is reasonably developed, but only through environmental, only through relationship and all that our environment gives us. Slowly we start thinking before reacting. Initially, as and when we are young, when our brain stem is fully active, everything is a threat. Like that little babies, they cry for everything. They are sad, they will cry. They are afraid, they will cry. They are angry, they will cry. So everything is a threat and a scream and a cry. Slowly, as the baby is growing, which means the brain is developing, the baby will start thinking, okay, I need not cry for this. This is, mama has just stepped out, mama has not disappeared, she will come back. The baby starts using the thinking area, and slowly what we say is they become emotionally mature, or we say emotionally intelligent, or we say EQ, which is far more important than IQ of late. Okay, but we need to understand that none of our children in the school age up to 18 years, none of their prefrontal cortexes are developed. So we cannot expect our children to be, okay, quickly go to reasoning. No, they are children for a reason. So when you see your children reacting and defending and arguing, hold back. Your prefrontal cortex is developed. You need not go back to your brainstem and start defending them in the same way that your child is defending you. Wait till the brainstem realizes that, okay, papa and mama are not defending back to me, so I am not a threat here. So slowly the child will start to calm down. How? Also remember the L, listen. Then the child will slowly, when the child knows that, okay, I'm not a threat, they will move to what is called the limbic system. Limbic system is the seat of emotions. What are the emotions? Broadly, we can talk about four emotions. One is you're happy. Now, happy we are all okay with. Either you're sad, you're angry, or you're afraid. Usually, when there is a disagreement, the child is actually sad, but sadness almost always is masked as anger. They will, come up with an angry face. So that is when you know that when there are defenses, when they start talking angry to you, the limbic system has started working. Is it ready for you to start defending? No, you should still wait. You have to wait for them to learn. And if you do not wait, the connections are not forming. If you start using your prefrontal cortex and start reasoning with them when they are still in the brainstem, there is going to be a horrible disagreement. Both of you will rip each other's dignity apart. Your child will talk about all the horrible things you ever did as a parent, and you will also talk about all the horrible things that your child has done from the time he or she was born. Okay, and that will become a mess. And worse it will be, because if the husband is saying something and the wife is saying something else and the grandmother is saying something else, all the entire family starts working from the brainstem, and there is a mess. So please understand neurology, understand your neurology too. When the child is defending, brainstem. When the child is upset, crying, angry, and talking, arguing, it's limbic system. Be there, hold on, your prefrontal cortex is fine. When the child calms down and slowly, you can see, you can make out from the body language, you can make out from the choice of words that your child uses. When the child is calmed down, slowly attempt to start a D for discussion. Okay, I understand what you're trying to say. I understand you're a little upset. I hear you. Start there. Sometimes, if you choose the wrong word, again the child can straight go back to the brainstem or the limbic and start defending again. You have to withdraw. Now this sounds actually like a very long drawn process. I agree, but please understand this is going to be a little heightened during the pandemic lockdown, because we are also, all of us, our brainstems are already activated. Why? Because the whole world is in a threat of a virus, isn't it? Whole world is in a threat of a lot of job security, new online education. Everything is a threat for us. Everything new, the brain perceives as a threat, and the brain will reject. So children are faced with too many things which are new to them. So they are almost always functioning from brainstem. Please give them the benefit of doubt, as they do not hate you. They very much love you. It is their neurology which is acting up. So let us understand that and wait till they are regulated. The 3 R's, if you can see, I know it's a little tiny here, but what you need to see is, once they are regulated, only then they will move to a relationship with you. They will connect with you only if they are calm. Once you see that they are able to engage in a reasonably decent discussion, then you move to the cortex, which is reasoning. Then you start reasoning with them. Then you bring in the discussion, and then you can say what you disagree with. Always remember, dear parents, disagree with the idea and not with the child. So when you want to say, you always do this, you did not listen to this, you are disagreeing with the child, with the person. Your disagreement should be with what did the child do, or what is the idea. Disagree, delineate the person from the idea. Then, because if you disagree with your child, the child will again perceive it as a threat, and back to the brainstem, defending will start. Well, how will they defend? They will start attacking you as a father or as a mother. They will pick on you. So what will happen? Your limbic system, you will start crying, you will get angry. It is a complete mess. So neither of you will become self-disciplined. So this D is the most important slide for all of us, including me everywhere. Though we know all the theories, there are some days when I also mess up, but then I apologize. Please remember, there is absolutely no problem to apologize, even to your kindergarten child. So children should see how parents are apologizing. Children should see if the father or mother have had a tiff in front of the children. And if either of you have used any inappropriate word, let them see you apologizing to each other and how you patch up. If you have used an inappropriate word or said something or done something which you feel you regret it later, please apologize. only when, remember, they will do as you do. So they will imitate. Children will always imitate the parent. Okay. It is almost impossible for children to imitate the teacher. So do not expect that, because teachers are all behind the screen. Parents will have to take on this role. So that is how you can make a child move towards self. This is not like a one-time session. Every day you will get so many opportunities to disagree, right? So always remember this. Of course, sometimes things will go bad. It's fine. We will apologize and try again the other day. That is the D. The next, which again I will be, intentional parenting. Yes, so far, of course, we are all intentional parents. Our intention is to parent, and parenting cannot be outsourced. It cannot be given to anybody else, because we made a decision to have children. It was just the two of your decision. And even if you are a single parent now, it is very, very important that parenting becomes a little more intentional. So think before we start speaking to our children. Am I acting like a parent, or am I also acting like a child and fighting with my child and being very upset? So be more conscious about what is your role as a parent. Think about that. If both of you are there, both of you need to discuss how do you divide the parenting responsibility. If you are a single parent, you have to take it on your own, but then see how best you can do it. Understand your skills as well. So and if suppose you outsource it with using the gadget or online, there is a big chance, if you do not use technology wisely, there is a big chance that children get addicted, which is what we are facing now, huge addictions. Why? Because there is an information overload on the internet. It is the World Wide Web. You can never compete with the internet on the amount of information that you can give and the worldwide can give. You cannot compete. But the connection, that emotional connect that you can give and what technology can give, you will always win. So unless you are there as an intentional parent, what will happen? Technology will take over. Children will not want to spend time with you. Children will connect more. Why? Because information is addictive. See, it might be good information. There is no information which is good or bad. Everything is information, isn't it? So what happens, just like it happens to all of us, isn't it? If you just give us Google, we can scroll and scroll and scroll and sit for hours and hours. We will not even know. It will be very interesting. Children will Google everything what is into. They will start using YouTube, or they will use wonderful videos, and you might think that, oh my God, they are learning so much. Please think, do your children need so much information? I have seen preschoolers having significant behavioral issues, attention, concentration, but they know all the capitals and countries. They know everything. They know about animals, birds, everything. But for what? What we need is not a bundle, a head full of information, but we need a heart which is full of empathy, which the child that knows independent living skills, interpersonal skills. Please put that above, because if we want our children to survive in a technological era, what technology will not take over is independent living skills and interpersonal skills. That will be very human. The emotional connect is the only thing so far which technology cannot do. Everything else, the machines will take over what humans can do. So if we want to survive, and if we want our children to be successful in a world which is going to be more and more taken over by technology, focus on their interpersonal skills, focus on their independent living skills. What are independent living skills? For a KG child, of course, it's different. 12th grader, different. Nothing, just waking up with your own alarm, brushing your teeth, making your bed, being able to go. I mean, I wouldn't say, I'm sure, I know that there are parents from all ages, but depending on the age of the child, keep the age of the child and just see what all can the child do independently, dressing, everything. If you're not working on that, and if you're only giving information to make art and craft by looking at YouTube videos, but the child doesn't know how to make the bed, or the child doesn't know how to make a sandwich or cook a meal, but can build a wonderful model of something by looking at YouTube. Where is the independent living skills? So please focus more on independent living skills, interpersonal skills. What are interpersonal skills? Being polite, being sensitive to others' feelings, being able to communicate effectively, being able to understand another person's emotions. Now, all these are needed for future jobs, especially the senior class students. It is mostly the ninth and above who are tending to be too much into their gadgets, and sometimes parents think that wow, they're all doing wonderful things, they're learning so much, there is so much, they talk very intelligent, great, but then please be watchful. A lot of the jobs will be taken over by machines. What is remaining for the humans will be emotional skills and interpersonal skills. So let us please start working on those way more than the other things, because by the time your preschooler goes into the the big wide world, it will be at least 18 years. In 18 years, do you have any idea what technology will be? So don't we can't equip our children with technology. There is nothing called equipping somebody with technology. Technology will change every day, every year. Did we ever think of the pandemic? No, it just took over, isn't it? So what we can do is give the skills, safeguard the neurology, safeguard the physiology, then they are ready to face anything that technology throws or anything that the world throws at them. Okay, so that is the I. The S will be the school. You already have selected one of the best schools. Now, why I say I will definitely vouch for Bhavan's, because that is Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan here in Cochin is where I learned as well. So I go strongly by my entire schooling was with Bhavan. So yes, you have already selected the right school. A school is organizing a session like this means that they do care. So whatever help you need, you are struggling with something, you don't know how to do, please connect with uh, the what is the connection procedure. I am presuming it's the class teacher first. Talk to your class teacher, be in touch with the class teachers. Do not expect the teacher to call you and say how is the child doing. See, you have, obviously none of us have raising 30 children in a house. Let us be kind to the teachers. The teachers also are mothers, they are also wives. In addition to that, they have to call and check all 30 or 40 children, and also deal with the pandemic and the lockdown. It can be a little difficult. Now the children are with you in your home. See, if the children were going to the school, I understand the teachers know much more, but more than the teachers now during this time, it is 100% the parents who know better. So if you are struggling, connect with the school teacher, ask them at least, I don't know, there must be a prescribed time that you can call them at that time and connect. Schools probably are focusing on subjects, which is your EVS, your math, physics, chemistry, biology, or whatever subjects, because by the least that they come online and do, the better for your children. So the least time they spend online, the better, isn't it? So the schools, leave the schools to focus only on the curriculum. That is better. Otherwise, if you expect the schools to focus on everything else, what will happen? Your children are spending more and more time in front of a screen. So take everything else, take over. Leave the curriculum to the school. You need to work on the skills. What are the skills you can work on? Reading is a skill. Independent reading. Reading comprehension is an academic skill. Written expression is an academic skill. Spelling is an academic skill. Arithmetic is an academic skill. So there are predominantly 5 academic skills. These skills are needed across all the subjects or curriculum which the school is teaching. So leave the curriculum to the school. If the child is struggling, connect with the teacher, connect with the supervisor or whoever else you are in touch with, connect with them, ask for support, seek help, and slow down. There is no rush. It is okay if your children have not done wonderfully for the exam. Connect with the teacher, find out where your children have gone wrong. Instead of finding out why did you go wrong, find out now, do you know the answer? Can we redo the exam at home? Can I give you the same question another day? Has the child understood the subject? Give the child the skills for all that and be the support. You are there as a supporting person. And as I said earlier, yeah, there are these two things which you need to by heart. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priority. And as a parent during a pandemic, whatever other job you might have, your biggest job will be parenting. Everything else you will have. Was that a question?
No, ma'am.
No,
That
no, no.
No? Okay. 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 So do not be afraid of the silent times. I got so used to the silent time that suddenly a noise came and I'm like wondering what happened. That is the trouble with online. When you're offline in a classroom, it is so beautiful. You hear all the sounds of all the children, and I'm sure the teachers are missing that too. So in a offline session, be okay with silence, be there with your children and find out which subject they are having difficulty. Be a team with the school and with the respective teacher, and slow down, focus on the skills, focus on self learning skills. It's okay for children to make mistake. This one year is a fantastic year to shift the responsibility to the child. So now, see, teachers are not full time sitting with the children. They are teaching the curriculum and they are gone. So for the parents, please don't again full time. You don't have to sit with the child. You explain the concept, move away. When the child is doing the assignment or homework or I don't know, whatever activity, move away. Even during online class, I understand that up till grade 4 or 5, the parents are expected to be part of the session. But I think by meaning being part of the session is only to be around to see what is happening. If there are any technical issues, especially the little ones, they might not know how to move the mouse and cut and unmute. So those kind of help you can be there. But if the teacher is connecting with the child, stay out of it. Do not try to tell the answer to the child. It's not about answer and question. It's about connection, isn't it? The child is trying to tell the teacher something. It's okay if it's the wrong answer. It's okay if the child didn't use the correct pronunciation. The teacher will deal with that. So during that 1 hour or 40 minutes or whatever time the teacher is there, leave it to the teachers. At that time, you play the supporting role. All the other time is yours. So you are the boss over there. Take on, connect with your child. But when the class is going on, be right there to know what is happening. But do not let the child explore and learn and see how to connect. Because I remember I went for an audit of online classes to a group of 3 schools, and I saw that in kindergarten, up till around grade 8, grade 9 onwards, it was the other extreme. The parents were not even around and they had no clue. But till then, especially kindergarten and junior school, the parents are right behind. Of course, it was a school in Tamil Nadu. So they were sitting and hitting their heads, no, tell the answer correctly, do that correctly. Because, of course, you know the answer, but the child is learning. Do not push your answers to the child. If the child wants to be silent on a particular day and the teacher is asking the question and the child is not answering, it's not your job to give the answer. Of course, the teacher knows the answer. It's for the child to know how to self-learn. So slow down. Doesn't matter. Do not try. Because earlier, the biggest advantage was you were not seeing how the other kids are answering. Now you get an idea of how the other kids are performing. It's okay if another child is answering all the questions way better, no problem. That doesn't put your child any way down. If your child one day probably doesn't get a chance to answer, it's okay. If you feel that it's happening repeatedly, connect with the teacher. After the session is over, tell the teacher that this is a struggle my child is having. Can you ask her separately? Of course, the teachers are here only to ask for support. So be in touch with the school. Try to make your children self learners. How do you make them self learners? By being okay with their mistakes, being okay if they fail. They will try again. You can be a facilitator, focus on the skills, and leave the subjects and the curriculum to the school. Connect with the school and watch out for sensory overload. Sensory overload means even after the online classes, if the children are again sitting in front of the screens, there will be not only information overload, sensory overload also. Why? Because technology is always audio or visual. Okay, so our brain needs all sensory stimulations. And what are the other sensory stimulations? There are totally 8, which is audio, visual, olfactory, tactile, kinesthetic, proprioceptive, vestibular, which means the children need to move, the children need to run, jump, everything. So if they are always in front of a screen, only audio and visual will get stimulated, and that will get overstimulated. So what will happen? That shutting down process will not happen. So they will be like in a daze full time there, and that is the beginning of addiction. Now I'm sure none of the children are earning. So obviously, unless you have turned on the TV and you have given them internet connection, they will not have access to it. So leave only the online classes. And I did go through the schedule, which is pretty much only what is minimum needed. Is, I understand, with the school is doing with the 40-minute break, with the 5-minute break. So when there is a break time, turn off that internet. The child has to get up from the front of the computer, and the 40-minute break, the child is not sitting there. So let the child move on. Okay, so that is what. So be in touch with the school. That's the main thing. Yeah. The next will be the G. A lot of questions were asked about gaming addiction. I mean, for me, who bought the games for the children? It is the parents. Who gave them the device? It is the parents. So before we give, there has to be, rules laid, ideally, if you have not done it earlier. So what we tell the children is, it is like a life is the biggest game that we all play. And in life, just like a game, whether you're playing a cricket or whether you're playing football or any game you take, there are rules. This is how you explain to your children, ideally before you have given the gadget. But if you already have, you have to follow the way to disagree. You have to follow to arrive at a decent discussion. You have to say that, make ground rules for using the device or gaming or whatever. That ideally, I don't think any child needs gaming, definitely no. But if you've already given it, how do you come out of it? Is fix consequences in advance. In cricket, if you do hit the ball and it goes, if somebody else catches, you are out. There is a penalty, and you are out of the field. So similarly, if your children are caught misusing the gadget or overusing it or breaking any of the rules which you have already set, decide the penalty in advance, whatever works for you. It can either be, sorry, you're not getting it for 2 days, or I don't know. This has to be pre-decided with a decent discussion. Remember the D, have the discussion, write it down somewhere and say that these are the consequences which will happen, because just life is a game. If you break the rule, there will be consequences and penalty, just like how it is in another game. And just like how their games are, there is a restart button. You cannot restart your entire life, but still we can always try again. We have goofed up, we have messed up, it's okay. As parents, you will forgive them, and we will try again with a new set of rules, and we restart. So it is very important that children be told that in life there will be rules, and the rules is for your safety and it is for your healthy. It doesn't matter for your health. It doesn't matter if the neighbor's kids' parents are doing something else. Of the peer pressure will be huge as you grow higher, especially with online classes. It will also increase because children can see what the others are doing. So there will be comparison, but that's perfectly fine. If you are a convinced parent and if you are firm, then you can say that the rules in this house is decided by the parent. So be the parent. The child will always remain the child. So say that, decide the rules in advance. And also start a gratitude journal will be great. What is a gratitude journal? Is already being watchful about talking about the good things that your children are doing. I'm sure your children are doing a lot of things. Be appreciative. Tell them that, wow, you're doing this, that is so good. Am I so happy that you did this. Talk to them about all that you're grateful about. Also bring a lot of giggles, and if at all you need to connect online further, there are grandparents. For those of you who are already staying with them, connect with them. For those whose grandparents are in India or any other country, there you can use the online to connect with your grandparents. Let them talk to them. That will also be a good for the grandparent as well. Both of your mental health will be taken care of, because grandparents are always only full of love. There is absolutely no judgment in grandparenting. So allow the children to connect with grandparents. That is the G. Okay, so then we move to O, the online. Of course, we all know that we don't have a choice, but it is online and it is going to stay for a very long time to come. So it is up to us that we already be prepared. Let us not think that, oh, this is only for this much time, so it's okay. It's not. It can be here to stay. So do not give open access to internet to any child, or a child as in every child below 18. If at all your child is using the internet, ideally it should be in a space where everybody can see the screen. Depending on whatever type of house you live, preferably the screen should be facing where everybody else is walking and the child is facing the wall. So if you walk in, you already know what the child had on the screen. The internet passwords, all their social media passwords should be with you, and do not think that you're intruding into the privacy of your child, because internet means obviously there is zero privacy. If you can give internet to your child inside the room and call it private time, remember you are giving access to your child to access the World Wide Web, and the World Wide Web to access your child, and you're calling it private time. That kind of privacy none of our children need. It is unhealthy, it is unsafe. Cyber crimes have skyrocketed after the lockdown. For Kerala, I know for sure, because we are dealing with a lot of issues, and pornography is also skyrocketed. So children should be very, very watchful about what content they are posting online. How will you tell all this? It cannot be a big advice session. It has to be a nice, healthy discussion, which we already discussed earlier. And then get organized. Discuss with your children that this is your internet time, this is not. So what will you do? Find out a basic routine which they can follow. Okay. And this will be important for both parents and for children, and this will be serious. We all need to understand what is psychological first aid. Just like how we have first aid when you fall down and you hurt your knee or something, you do a quick first aid. Similarly, there is something called a psychological first aid, which means, and you have to take the lead for that. Who will take the lead? It has to be the parent who takes the lead. The teachers, if you notice that online, I think you can also take the lead there, but not as much as you probably could before online, because it's sometimes it gets difficult to notice things online when you have 30 little thumbnails. But if you can, that's great. First is look out for changes in behavior in your children. Look out if there is too much irritability, too much anger, too much isolated, not talking, not having interest in having food, lose loss of appetite, being reasonably sad, not talking, not having bath on time, or not able to sleep. So if that is there, watch out for these signs. If you notice these signs, look for these signs first, then listen to them. Ask your child directly, saying, are you okay? Is there something worrying you? Remember, children might not be able to verbalize and say exactly what is worrying them. They might not know, because they might just say, I don't know, I'm just feeling like this, I'm just irritated. They might not know why. Doesn't matter. Do not try to give solutions. Do not try to advise. Just do plain listening. Just hold your child and say, it's okay. Let your child talk. Do the listening. But if you notice that despite your listening, without advice, without philosophical dialogues, without any judgment, still such symptoms persists for more than 2 weeks, keep the threshold for 2 weeks. If that is persisting for more than 2 weeks, you have to mandatorily link with the counselor, with the school first. Tell the school counselors, or whichever other professional help has to be sought. So give your threshold as 2 weeks. Look for the changes in behavior. This is not only for children, this is true for adults also. So teachers can look at all the, your own mental health also. Look how you're feeling, and that feeling persists for more than 2 weeks, link with the professional. You have to take professional consultation. Please have no shame in doing that. It's important. It is because we are dealing with an abnormal situation, so that's needed. And the last one is the D, which is whose responsibility it is to do all of this. It is the parents. So we have to do it. And when should we do it? We have to do it daily. We cannot say today I will parent, tomorrow I won't parent. Is not going to happen. This is our job. It is our accountability. These are our children. So we have to do it. It has to be on your list daily, and we have to do it. And what all can we do? A few other D's which we can do daily are, we most houses will have a dining table. So make sure, at least, I'm sure for those of who are working parents, at least one meal a day, if you can be at the dining table without your gadgets, that is the time. Connect at the dining table. Have a time for some delight, some fun activity which you can all do together. Even if it is watching a movie, or even if it is watching IPL on TV or your favorite show, try to all of you do it together. Talk about what is happening, even if you have a screen. Try to do some delight time and let it be together. Like I said, it could be the kitchen also. The other D is a dialogue table. If anyone in the family is upset, open up the dialogue. Don't try to ignore it. Ah, he is just acting up, he is just attention seeking, or she is attention seeking. No. If the child is upset, bring the discussion, open up the conversations, and seek help from the school or any other professional if you need that. And then, like how we started the session, divine table. We don't know, we are living in uncertain times, and when things are so uncertain, sometimes we just have to leave it to the divine. And let's hope and pray that everything gets better. But at the same time, be prepared that everything might not get better, and probably this is how it's going to be. So then we will have to adapt and move forward accordingly. So that is the end of the PPT. And now to the question answers. So Preeti, I would like to know how much time I have to answer all the questions, and do I have to select all the questions, or how much time?